Hey everyone, it's technology expert Burton Kelso here with another tech tip to help you get the most out of the technology in your life. Today we're talking about how we can stop social media threats against schools. It has been going on for quite a while, but has seemed to increase this school year, maybe because a lot of kids are going back to school after being socially distanced from peers through the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we all know that social media has been causing a problem for a long, long time. Kids get on social media and chat on popular services such as Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok. And one of the disturbing things about chatting on these social media services is the simple fact that there is parental control software out there to kind of curb these popular social media sites. But the challenge is a lot of the action takes place in the direct messages of these popular social media apps, and there's really no way to stop a direct message from being filtered out, as far as I know, as far as social media is concerned. So it is a big problem. So certain things happen when kids get to talk in direct messenger, and sometimes kids do stupid things that they normally do when they're young. But one of the biggest challenges is with social media is just the addicting, and I guess you could say that the addicting quality of most of your social media sites. There are several things that can happen if you allow children to run loose on social media. You can deal with such things as depression. The challenge with social media and a lot of electronics is that young brains simply just don't have the ability to turn off of social media and other electronic devices such as smartphones and even console systems. So if you deprive your child from social media or from gaming systems, they definitely can suffer from depression because they're not able to interact with their devices as they normally would. Another symptom that can occur from too much social media or electronic use is the fact that they can deal with sleepless nights. If you have a child that has had sleep problems, you can probably count it up to too much electronic use. Again, young brains just can't handle social media and gaming sites, and it definitely can cause issues with your sleep. And in another video, I talked about the blue light issue that many tech devices will emit, which can definitely cause issues with sleep patterns, not only in kids, but tweens, teens, and even adults. So that's why it's always recommended that parents, when it comes to electronic devices, make sure that they cut out electronic use at least an hour before bedtime to give those brains time to adjust. And when I'm talking about brains, I think many of you out there are probably thinking that I'm talking about preschooler brains. But in all actuality, most children's brains don't fully develop until, well, into their 20s. With boys at age 28 and girls at age 26, it takes a while for the brain to develop. So that's why it's important to set good habits when it comes to technology. Other issues that can occur with social media and technology use are communication issues. Um, if you notice your child's withdrawn, or maybe they're only able to talk online with their friends, you can blame that on social media usage. Um, Definitely, when kids aren't able to react with other kids in the real world, it can cause big issues with communication. If you are a heavy social media user or you've had conversations online, you know what it's like when you don't understand the context of what someone may post online because there's no voice inflections. You can't tell if someone is angry or happy behind a social media post. So it definitely can cause issues with communications because kids just aren't using those communication skills anymore. And sometimes with online use, it can cause crossing of boundaries because, plain and simple, kids just don't know how to act unless they're in an online environment. Another thing that parents have to deal with as far as kids are concerned is anxiety. Not having access to technology can definitely cause anxiety issues in young minds. It is almost like an addiction. In most technology and social media is addictive, and it definitely can cause problems if kids run loose. Now, with all these symptoms, it can definitely cause a firestorm of problems as to why children and teens may make threats against schools. One of the reasons for that may come from the fact that these kids are simply seeking any type of attention. If kids aren't getting attention at home or even at school, they may do silly things to get attention. Sometimes, especially in the old days, it could be as simple as being the class clown. But nowadays, the attention is sought online through social media or direct messaging of those social media apps. So, any things that kids can do to garner attention, they're definitely going to do it. And that includes threatening to cause harm to a school. Now, what kind of attention do you think a kid would get? Obviously negative, but in their mind, it definitely will draw eyes of classmates to them, making them feel a little bit important, especially in the online world, because sometimes for kids, that's all that matters. Now, another thing that causes kids to do things such as cyberbullying, sexting, or just other disruptive behavior online is a lot of kids think that they are anonymous online. And adults, I hope you know this, but you're really not. But kids probably aren't aware of this because anytime that there's something done against the law, such as cyberbullying or swatting or anything that is causes negative use online, you can be tracked by your IP address. It doesn't matter if a child is doing it from their smartphone or from their personal laptop. Definitely a way from law enforcement and for your internet provider at home or at school or anywhere to track down that malicious behavior and to nab the kid. So that's another reason why children tend to do the things that they do, especially since they think that they are being anonymous online. And it's important to let kids know that it doesn't matter what username and what network you are on, you definitely can be found. But kids obviously think they're anonymous, so they continue to do some pretty strange stuff. Another thing, and which is unfortunate, is that because of upbringing, some kids just want to watch the world burn. And again, that's more attention seeking behavior because if you make threats towards a school or towards anybody, you may be just doing it to be malicious. And some kids are, unfortunately, because of unfortunate home circumstances. But some kids just want to see the chaos that occurs when a school is evacuated because of an active shooter threat. And I think many of you can relate to this because how many incidents have you been involved in or seen where you have the kid pull the fire alarm at school just to see the school evacuated? So that behavior now has extended a little bit online to let's make a threat against the school because I want some attention, or maybe the child is just angry and wants to lash out at somebody because of something that may have happened at school, such as being expelled or being disciplined at school. And then finally, it sometimes boils down to just poor parenting skills. If you are a parent watching this and you find yourself on your tech devices on a regular basis, you definitely can be the blame for a lot of these school calling threats that are occurring, especially because Kids need boundaries set when it comes to electronic use, and parents do too. If your kids are seeing you play around on your devices too much and you don't have that healthy balance of be interacting with your children, it definitely can cause issues where kids retreat to their online lives and act out online as opposed to interacting with you and doing things that are positive or that can be a positive effect on your children. So, I know I've complained about the thing, but let's talk about some solutions without an S at the end. But yeah, what are some solutions that we can do to kind of help this unruly behavior go on at schools? Well, that's a good question. There's several things that we can do to make sure that's happened. So, number one, you need to have a conversation about social media usage when it comes to your kids and their devices. I think many kids are turned loose with tech devices because parents don't really understand how the technology works. And if you watched that recent interview with the whistleblower from Facebook, tech companies purposely design these tech devices so that parents don't understand what's going on. It helps these tech companies get a hold of kids a lot easier, and it allows them to go places where parents won't normally go. And unfortunately, a lot of parents just don't have the lack of ego to say, I don't know. Why don't you show me what I should be showing my kid to make sure that they're safe online? Or many of the thoughts that occur with this is that it's not going to happen to me as far as my kid, or my kid is not that kid that's going to call in and make a school threat. But raise your hand. How many of you have done something stupid as a kid? And we know kids do some stupid things without thinking through the consequences of their actions as far as the things that they do online. So set rules, expectations of how you expect them to act on social media as far as treating people with respect and dignity and making sure that they don't make silly threats towards schools or towards other people online before they have access to their devices. Because if you just hand them the device and let them use that device, then they're going to run around unchecked thinking that they can do anything that they want to online and on social media. You also need to explain to kids that the internet has a long memory. So anything that's posted online probably going to be hanging around on the internet for the next 30 to 40 years, if not longer. So be careful what you say and always show your positive self online when it comes to dealing with people online. Next, which is kind of going to be a point of debate, is that schools definitely need to step up consequences that will occur if a kid makes threats to a school. Now, not necessarily saying kids need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which maybe there should be some consequences as far as law enforcement is concerned, but mainly schools really need to step up their policy as far as what they are going to do if a kid is caught making threats against a school. Doesn't matter if it's shooting or bombing or whatever. If schools start to take a tougher stance on what actions they're going to incur on kids who make these online threats, then you will definitely see less threats made about school. Can you imagine if you're the parent that is faced with what needs to happen as far as your kid's school if the school permanently expels the kid out of the student? That would probably make you think long and hard about what your kid is doing online and to make sure that they're not jeopardizing what you need to do as far as their education is concerned if they make a threat to the school. So consequences definitely need to have their place in schools to make sure that kids aren't doing this just for the heck of it. Next, parents need to definitely check their kids' devices on a regular basis. I know no parent wants to be the helicopter parent when it comes to checking devices, but kids kind of want those boundaries, and you definitely should set those boundaries too, because if you're not monitoring what's going on, then no telling what your kid is saying online. Now, this is kind of a debate because some of you out there have kids who are responsible and you know who they are. And then there are other of you out there that have kids who are not so responsible and you know who they are. And you definitely need to check those devices daily, at least I would say a couple of times a week, just to make sure that your kids aren't doing or saying things that they shouldn't be saying online. It's only good. Probably chances are it's your device anyway, so why don't you have the right to check it out? And checking out devices also means keeping up with username and passwords for online accounts so that you can log on to their accounts at any time to see what conversations are going on. Also, apps that kids use change consistently. So TikTok may disappear one day, and you need to find out what the next popular social media app is by looking at your kids' devices because they change quite a bit. So keep on top of what's on their phone, what apps they're downloading, so that you can monitor all correspondence as far as the conversations that your children are having online. And then, if all else fails, and no parent likes it when I say this, just simply take the device away. If kids are being irresponsible on their devices, just take it away. I mean, there's many ways that you can get around a kid having a smartphone. It doesn't not going to be the end of life. They may act like you've just ripped out a lung or severed an artery, but there's ways to get around kids not having access to smart devices, especially if they're being unruly and disruptive online. And parents hope that there's some all inclusive parental guidance software out there to prevent all of these helicopter steps, but there really isn't. You can block sites, which is good, but normally kids are going to find a way to get around that. If you have the sites blocked on your internet at home, what happens when your kid with their smartphone gets on the mobile network or the school's network if it's allowed, or goes over to a friend's house to make those threats? So it's always to make sure that you're keeping on top of what your kids are doing online to ensure that we all can do our part as making sure that kids aren't making unnecessary threats to schools, because it's just a big disruption as far as schools concerned, as far as law enforcement's concerned, and we all need to step in and do our part to make sure that we keep our schools safe and that we keep the online community safe as well. So with that said, if you've got comments or questions, leave in the comment section below. Love to hear the dialogue on what you think we should do as far as stopping these social media threats against schools. And speaking, I shouldn't use the threat word, but maybe I could when it comes to making sure that if you like this video, be sure to share it with your friends and follow and connect whatever network that you're watching this on, whether it be YouTube or LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and even Instagram. Yeah, I forgot that's an option. But anyway, yeah, you definitely can follow myself, Burton Kelso, the technology expert, or my company Integral, as far as keeping up with the latest tips and tricks that are designed to help you get more from the technology you use at home and at work. So, I love technology, and I've read all the manuals, honestly, and I'm serious about making technology fun, safe, and easy to use for everyone. So take care of yourself and do many things to make you smile, and thanks for watching.